So if you're dreaming of RVing in 2024, we're going to give you 6 places in the U.S. we believe have to be on your bucket list. From snow-capped mountains to coastal views to red rock sculptures, these places define jaw-dropping beauty throughout the United States. Are you ready to start dreaming for your next adventure in 2024? It's time to let go and get going. What's up, fellow journeyers? So today, we just got done overnighting at one of our favorite boondocking harvest host spots we've been to, Lane Southern Orchards in Georgia, and we are actually heading to one of these 6 destinations right now. So stay tuned for where that destination is. Now, if you ask Marissa and I our favorite place that we've ever RV'd, we're both gonna agree that it's...
You gonna say it on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Alaska. However, for this video, we're looking for places that can be visited in 2 to 4 weeks as a road trip, where it's easily accessible to RVs, so somewhere like New York City or DC would probably be out, and it has plenty of places where you could park your RV and you could stay for the night. And then lastly, we're thinking about when you're going from point A to point B to point C, we want all those to be, in about 4 hours or less from each other, so you could do a day trip in your car, in your RV, whatever, and you could still see some epic things in one day, not be driving days and days and days in between stops. Okay, now first up is a place that you may or may not even known of as an epic road trip destination for 2024. And this is probably the most underrated out of all these places we're gonna share with you. And that's in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Why do you like the Black Hills of South Dakota?
Probably the most surprised by how amazing the Black Hills are. They're just a hidden gem. It's just beautiful. You've got Custard State Park. I mean, literally that state park could be a national park. It's incredible. You've got all these amazing historical drives. You got Iron Mountain and the Needles. You've got beautiful lakes that you can swim in and paddle on, and wildlife loops. I mean, just majestic that you can have the burros that you can interact with around the loop. It's just, I can't even describe how incredibly cool that area is.
Of course, if you're into history, you get to scratch your history itch too with Mount Rushmore. And then you got Badlands National Park. And then I think it's called the Minuteman Missile Museum, where they talk about the nuclear warheads that were in the area. Awesome combination of nature and history. And honestly, it's just a lot of family fun.
Have you talked about the camping spot yet?
I have not.
One of our favorite places to camp in the country is Nomad View, and it is right outside of Badlands National Park, and you can park right overlooking Badlands. Right on the cliff. It's just incredible. I think that honestly is what made us fall in love with boondocking. We had never really done that much until we stopped at Nomad View, and then we're like, oh, this is why you RV, this is why you boondock, because it is just such an amazing view. It's a really good location. We could hop into Badlands and go see some of our favorite stops. The Notch Trail is my favorite hike, and then you've got the Yellow Mounds. So it is definitely one of the best spots to camp in the country.
Definitely 4-star. Because just telling you the wind is bad when there's a storm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was windy, wasn't it?
Whew, even Daddy was stressed out.
Something about the Black Hills that's really cool is it's fun for the whole family. We mentioned you've got the history side of it, you've got the nature side of it that's maybe Marissa, and then you've got I'm gonna say this is the quirky, fun kid or big kid inside at Wall Drug. You liked Wall Drug, didn't you?
Yeah. I did.
What was your favorite thing at Wall Drug?
It's all very, very unique compared to other tourist traps.
So it is a tourist trap. What was there that made it look like a tourist trap?
The jackalope, the dinosaur, all that stuff. Their ice water tastes different.
Is it better? Is it better?
Because it's free?
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's free, does it taste better?
Yeah.
Marissa liked the 5-cent coffee, the free water.
I love it. Anytime you get a deal, it tastes better. So when you have 5-cent coffee with your donuts and cinnamon rolls, the food is out of this world. It's definitely a stop, and you will see all the signs to stop heading out there. There are not a shortage of signs. The history behind it is they used to put signs all over, even in Europe. That's how it got popular. They were putting signs everywhere, and people are like, what is this Wall Drug? And you'll do it too. You'll see the signs and you're like, what is this? What is this place? I keep seeing all these signs. And that and the free ice water is how they stayed in business back in the early days. So it's very cool.
Okay, so second on the list is Maine.
Maine is magical. When I think of Maine, I think of like the lighthouses, and that just brings this really beautiful element to the state. Acadia National Park is truly one of the best national parks in the country.
We couldn't get into, I think there's two, don't quote me, there's at least a couple of different campgrounds, but we got into Schoodic Woods, which is a newer campground in the national park, and it was awesome. It was a little more off the beaten path, but you get dark sky, super quiet.
Acadia is iconic for Thunder Hole, where you make the stop and you hope that the water just crashes up on to this little opening in the rocks and lets out this real thunder of an experience. We ate pink hot dogs.
Everything I could.
You like it?
My goodness.
Do it, Hensley. Do it. Do it.
And lobster rolls.
Lobster rolls. There's definitely some food in Maine that's
Lots
different as
of
well.
good food.
And last but not least in Maine, there's some pretty epic hiking, especially in Acadia National Park.
You definitely have Beehive and Precipice, which are very iconic Acadia hikes. And Nathan did Precipice. I went and did Beehive. The wildlife is just so incredible in Maine. Where else can you go whale watching, and then at certain times of the year you can see puffins in Maine off the shoreline. So just a very unique experience with wildlife.
Third road tripping spot, one of our favorites, the Mighty Five in Utah. Now, when people say Mighty Five in Utah, they're talking about the 5 national parks in Utah. And there are some gorgeous national parks in Utah. What a lot of people do with the Mighty Five, they'll fly into Vegas, they rent an RV, rent a vehicle or whatever, and then they check out Vegas, and then they drive to the Grand Canyon, and then they go ahead and do the Mighty Five, the 5 national parks in Utah, and then they come back to Vegas. And we've seen people do that in 2 weeks. Now to me, that's a lot to do in 2 weeks. But again, a lot of these spots are within 4 hours of each other, so it is doable.
So the Mighty Five is definitely an epic route. I mean, Zion National Park speaks to my heart. One of our favorite national parks, because if you've watched our videos, we love hiking, and it's got some incredible hiking. You've got Angel's Landing, which is, I mean, breathtaking and an adventure of its own. You also have the Narrows, which is, man, that is incredible. Hiking through the Narrows, through water. I think that's what's cool about Zion, is you're like down in the canyon looking up, or you can hike up and look down.
We did stay inside Zion National Park with our Airstream.
Watchman Campground.
Watchman Campground. Yeah. You can get some larger RVs in there. For the most part, though, the smaller, the easier. And if you have a tent, there's a lot of tent sites too. And you can boondock outside the national park. We've seen some really cool boondocking spots outside of Zion as well. Now, beyond Zion, you have 4 other parks. You have Bryce, which is very different. You have, I think they're called hoodoos, but you got all the weird structures sort of coming from the bottom up.
Spires
coming up. Some really neat hikes and views in Bryce Canyon. We love that a lot. Arches is very unique. With, you think of red rock and sculptures, and the license plate for Utah has one of the arches from Arches National Park on it. That's like a must do. And you can also stay in Arches National Park. But if you don't stay inside Arches National Park, there's still a lot of options as far as where you camp. Because it's in Moab, which is like a destination all of its own.
The whole national park is just these natural arches and these the hikes that you can do. I mean, so absolutely incredible. Love that park. Canyonlands, to me, is very underrated. We rented a Jeep and did an incredible Jeep ride through the national park. And then you've got Capitol Reef, which is also a really great national park. Nathan really liked that one.
Because it's a part of the Mighty Five and doesn't get a lot of press, but you put it up against a lot of the other national parks. It's hard to even really describe. It's just like a really green, luscious, out of nowhere when you see Red Rock National Park with a lot of petroglyphs and a lot of history in the area. So we didn't film this yesterday, but we had like 2 hours of traffic yesterday. Today, it's about on par for that again. I don't know, we just had a terrible run. Can't even find a place to pull over. I just pulled over the rest area to try to stretch my legs, and there wasn't even a spot available. They said there was 3 spots, but I pulled in, there wasn't. It's pretty wild. It's hard to even pull over anymore. We've been trying to pull over for an hour and a half. Cars and trailers, that's me. Campers and trailers. Ooh, we got a separate area for campers and trailers. Let's do that. Oh, wow.
I guess he considers himself a camper because...
Yeah, maybe he sleeps in his van. He's got solar panels on the
I
top.
know, that's what I'm saying.
Legit
I
camper.
think he considers himself like a camper, so he's like,
Oh, no,
okay.
that's definitely, with that amount of solar on the roof, he's definitely a
I'm
camper.
just saying, like, he's in a van, but
Yeah.
you would think he would just park, but because he, like, camps in the van, it's
Yeah.
just funny.
Yeah. Our fourth RV road trip, this is one of our favorites. A couple caveats. One, the cool thing is this can be done almost any time of the year. The downsides, it may or may not be close to you if you're on the East Coast. And if I had to say any of these routes, like, it is definitely easier in a smaller RV, I would say it's this one. I'll call it like the California coastal RV route. The whole thing we did was not on the California coast, and it doesn't have to be. On our way into the California coast, like the Big Sur area, and basically just taking the one down California is what we did. Well, we hit Death Valley on the way in. We hit Sequoia National Park. We hit Redwoods State Park, which is at the top of the route, and you start working your way down.
We went inland and did Yosemite, like...
Well, yeah. So
You
I'd
know.
add Yosemite to the list. I mean, this is an epic route. I mean, you're talking like beautiful, the whole thing. For me, I just got a thing for trees and like seeing those redwoods,
be worried?
seeing those sequoias. What are you worried? Not that much. You know, I do absolutely love trees, and just seeing these giant redwoods, these giant sequoias. Man, it just, I don't know. I think it brings me back to my childhood, like my ET days or something like that. Absolutely loved it.
You would love it. The West Coast is just sheer cliffs overlooking incredible scenery. Like, there isn't an ugly view on that coast. Like, for miles and miles and miles, your senses are heightened with just beauty.
Well, they're also heightened because the one is, if you're on the one,
It's pretty cliffy, but that's what
you don't
makes
want a
it
large
so
RV on the
beautiful.
one.
You've got waterfalls. You got to stop and see McWay Falls. You've got elephant seals. You've got castles. There's Hearst Castle. Like, literally everything is just so magnificent coming down that coast, and it never gets old. It's just beautiful the whole way.
Yeah, and even before Marissa gets to the one on the West Coast, I mean, the amount of things you can do in the 3 national parks and the state park I just mentioned. You're in like some fairyland or something. You're like, there's a what is that? Isn't that the tallest waterfall in the U.S.?
It is.
Like that?
When I think of Yosemite, I think when they say like close your eyes and go to your happy place, I feel like everybody imagines a place like Yosemite with like waterfalls and in a valley, and it's just rainbows. Like, it's just incredibly beautiful.
And now you can camp in and around all these places. Death Valley, like any size rig. Sequoia, if you go in there, you can do any size rig, but you do need to use some cautions. Same thing, Redwoods, it can get a little tight. Yosemite can get a little tight, but there are options with big rigs to do these things, if not in the park, at least around the parks. So our next epic place to see in 2024 in RV is actually 3 places. 2 of them are right next to each other, and then the third is like 4 to 6 hours away. But the bang for the buck of what you get for this third place is pretty awesome. These 3 places are Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, and Glacier National Park. In our mind, 3 of our top 10 probably national parks in the U.S. But let's start with Yellowstone. So Yellowstone, and we did a whole video about this. You can RV in Yellowstone, but it's very difficult to RV in Yellowstone with a large RV. So if you have a large RV, it's not that you shouldn't do Yellowstone. You can. You can get in the fishing bridge. You can boondock outside. You can do private parks outside, forest campgrounds. There's lots of ways to still RV in. But Yellowstone is a massive park. And really all 3 of these require some planning because of the crowds and logistics with all of them. Yellowstone is just iconic America, really. When you think about national parks, you think about America. I mean,
Because it was our first national park, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the oldest national park. I think the first national park in the world, because that was a new thing to establish national parks. So just going to Yellowstone is like an experience in itself.
Yellowstone is very unique and diverse. It's massive. It's a very large national park. Not only is it just amazing geysers, which are very unique in their self, but you've also got lots of wildlife, and there actually is the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, which is a beautiful view that I would definitely check out that side of the park.
It is a smaller version of the Grand Canyon, but it has a waterfall.
I don't know if there's another park that's as diverse as
I'd agree with
Yellowstone, and I think that's what makes it so magical.
Bordering Yellowstone, you've got Grand Teton National Park, which we feel like is one of the most underrated national parks in the United States. Probably our favorite camping spot in the United States is in Grand Teton National Park.
Ever.
And it's, you go to campendium.com, it's called Upper Teton View. Totally free. and you're overlooking these Teton Mountains, it feels like just cheat code because you have the same view as probably like a $20-30 million home in the area would have.
A lot of people skip the Tetons. They go to Yellowstone and they skip Tetons. And I'm going to tell you, I think that is a travesty. There is just something super special about the Teton Mountains. I mean, it's a must-see, in my opinion. There's so much hiking. We got out on our paddle boards, and it's just majestic on the water. You've also just got these incredible mountain views, and you're going to want to see the movie at the visitor center. Literally made me cry. It's just don't miss the Tetons, and I'm telling you, this spot is our favorite spot in the country. It's amazing.
And then the third in this list, Glacier National Park. Oh my goodness. Like, it's sort of like Maine. I'm going to say this is just as close, if not closer, to some of the stuff you'd see in Alaska without having to go to Alaska and glacier. There's not many other places in the United States you can see glaciers like this. So you get to, first of all, see glaciers, obviously, but you get to see these beautiful, pristine lakes underneath where these glaciers are at that are just wild blue color that you only get, it seems like, when stuff is coming off of glaciers. A lot of times you still get to see the snow-covered tops of these mountain ranges. Hiking a glacier is epic. It.
Finally.
You haven't guessed already, our last route that we love, we highly recommend, is the state of Florida.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Florida! Finally!
Where's the roller coaster? No, you gotta. It's a little farther into Florida, buddy.
Be at the state line.
Yeah, we got a little ways to go here.
Where's the roller coaster?
They got roller coasters, though.
And some sign says Universal on it.
What's at Universal?
Universal has Harry Potter roller coasters.
Ah, you don't even like Universal, do you?
I do.
Oh, do you like roller coasters?
Yeah.
The other day he called it Harry Potter National Park.
Now, the state of Florida, I know, does not sound like a route, but there are actually a lot of different places you can fly into and experience routes, either just with a vehicle or with your RV. And to us, the state of Florida, more than anything, is about chasing 70 degrees, because we highly recommend being here in the winter if possible. So if you live in a cold state and you're like, man, I'm just ready for a break, Florida is a fantastic way to do that. So why do we like Florida as a must-do RVing destination for 2024? Because if you're like us, before we started RVing, when you think of Florida, you probably think of like one thing maybe. You think of maybe Disney, or maybe you think of a beach, or, you know, maybe the Keys. But Florida is it's actually a diverse state. And these corners, you're gonna notice this theme, but like the corners of the United States have some really epic things to check out. So Florida, you know, you can fly into the Keys or drive down to the Keys. And the Keys, I'm gonna say there's nowhere that feels like the Keys. There's just
tropical?
There's just not.
Yeah.
There's nothing as tropical as the Keys, other than Hawaii.
Yeah.
We'll say continental 48. If you want that and you want some low-hanging fruit, maybe it's reachable if you're on the East Coast. You know, the Keys is awesome. I know we thought there were tons of beaches in the Keys. There's actually not.
Yeah.
But there's some really great snorkeling. There's a lot of really unique wildlife in the area. And it's just one of those things, when you see the sunset, the images and the video cannot do the sunsets justice in the Keys. Key West is fun. I mean,
they even do a celebration every night of the sun setting. Like, that's how beautiful the sunset is every night people gather around and watch the sun go down and like celebrate it, because it's so beautiful there.
So if you think of beaches with Florida, there's some epic beaches in Florida. I think our favorites are more like the Panhandle area.
Yeah.
We stayed in Topsail State Park. There's 2, 3, 4 state parks right there on the Panhandle.
Yeah, because you've got
Gorgeous.
Destin
Oh,
and like
goodness.
Pensacola.
Oh my
like,
goodness.
some really beautiful beaches.
Wow.
There.
Just wow. So if you want a beach experience, Florida's where it's at. Traditionally, you might think of Disney or Universal. Hey, JJ Hensley.
What?
Do you like Disney or Universal?
Either one works for me.
Either one works for me.
Either one works.
Universal though. Universal and Disney. Yeah, either
Now we have to go to both.
If you could only go to Universal or Disney, which one would you do?
Universal.
Because you
There you go.
Harry Potter right now.
JJ, if you can only go to Universal or Disney, which one would you do?
I would do both of them.
I would do both of them. You were telling me today how much you loved Florida?
Yes, it's warm in all seasons. It's beautiful.
All seasons?
Florida has 2 seasons.
Do you know what all seasons mean?
We usually bring her here in the winter.
Yeah.
Florida has hot and hotter, but yeah.
Just warm. I said warm or
Okay.
hot.
Warm or hot, yes.
Why else do you like Florida?
It's always just a place to connect with people.
It is
It's
true.
true. As an RVer in the winter, especially.
When people say I'm lonely and I want to RV, and we're like, go to Florida in the winter. Like, it's so much easier to meet people here. You said it was your second favorite state, right?
Yes, compared to Tennessee, yes.
Wow.
Tennessee.
Wow.
And then,
She's been to all 50 states.
Yeah.
So I think by the time you're, what, 4, 5 or something? I don't know.
yeah.
But
Do
you're
you like Florida?
I do.
Why do you like Florida?
Because it's pretty.
It is very pretty. Are you excited to ride the theme park rides this year? Yeah. So those are the things you probably think of when you think of Florida, is the, Disney and the beaches. But something that we've discovered that we absolutely love about Florida are the springs. And nobody talks about the springs, but I think it's got the highest collection of springs than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And they are so fun. I think one of our favorites is Kelly Park, where you can tube.
Yeah, don't tell. That's like a
Little
county.
Yeah, it's a county park.
It's a good one.
You can do a natural lazy river in a tube, and it is one of our favorite adventures. You've got Devil's Den, which is incredibly cool, where you can just snorkel down in it's not a cave, but
It's like a sinkhole.
Sinkholes?
Yeah, like a
yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound.
Yeah, it's cool.
Think of a different word than sinkhole.
It's a beautiful sinkhole.
Yeah. It's just so unique. You've got the Everglades, and I mean, man, there's just so much here, just so much beauty and so much diversity, and we love coming in the winter to get out of the cold. So happy to be here. So we have put together a complete guide of 5 places to RV that you have probably never heard of. Some of those we talked about in this video, and we will give you exact GPS location for these epic camp spots. And some of them you might not have heard of.
So if you want access to the guide, go to lessjunkmorejourney.com/hidden gems. Well, that is our journey for this week. Until next week, we'll catch you guys later.